You're watching People's Daily Talk, and today we are very pleased to be joined by Professor Terrence Sejnowski, one of the real giants in the field of artificial intelligence. Professor, it's great to have you in the show.
Wonderful to be here.
Let's say if a lonely people who need companionship, artificial intelligence robot can provide a good companionship, but at the same time, probably it can also reduce the willingness of people to really make face-to-face contact with people, right? So is that really solving problem or creating problem?
Well, you don't need a social robot for that to happen because it's already happening with Facebook. You know, people are spending more time with their friends on Facebook than they are with their real friends, right? And that's not a good substitute. So I completely agree that's a problem. And so we have to regulate it. We have to find some way of coming to some balance. And that's something that we can recognize the problem. We should be able to fix it. There are ways to fix problems like that. By the way, the real problem, if you know, as people age, their friends die. And those are people that know them. And so when you get to be really old in your 80s and all of your friends have died, who do you talk to? You have no one to talk to. And that's actually, you know, they have no choice.
That's really a sad situation to think about even.
But it's unfortunate that we know that we're living longer. We're living in a society where people are isolated. You know, what happens is, you know, if they go to a nursing home, you know, that is not a good substitute. It's not the same thing.
Another point in your book is that you think autonomous vehicles will be widely adopted probably in about 20 years later. And so it's actually widely believed that artificial intelligence can reduce road accidents greatly. But still, can we say that artificial intelligence can 100% eliminate road accidents?
Well, right now, the goal isn't to eliminate all accidents. That may not even be possible. But if we can have fewer accidents than we have today, then we're ahead, right? And I think that we can do much better. Self-driving cars can communicate with each other. And if a car wants to change lane, it's going to tell the cars around, hey, I'm going to change lane, you know, take appropriate measures. You know, if you want to take an exit, the cars will open for you so you can get in. So immediately, that's going to take care of, you know, 99% of all the accidents that occur just from, you know, humans making mistakes. But there will always be unexpected things happening that nobody could predict. And those are the rare cases, and those are the ones that we really need to help, you know, to do something about them. And you know, we haven't solved those problems yet.
So for the rare occasions, there's a very tricky question actually in the preface of your book. So the question asking, let's say if a road accident becomes inevitable, should the car hit the innocent elderly people on the left side, or should the car hit into the innocent adult on the left?
Well, as long as it doesn't hit me, I'm not sure. So this particular choice is probably so rare it may never have ever occurred.
But it's actually in your preface in the book.
No, it's a philosophical question.
Right.
And that's what makes it interesting, because we love to dream up of you know, philosophers especially like to dream up these exotic cases that, you know, you have to argue about. And it's a moral problem, right? You have to make these choices. And I'm not sure there is any simple solution to these problems. That's why philosophers argue about them, because there's a difference of opinion. People have different views of things, of the value of youth versus age, of, you know, killing, you know, somebody you know versus somebody you don't. I mean, this is incredibly complex, but I wouldn't worry about that problem from where we are now. We're so far away from that we have to solve many practical problems first. And this is what's happening, actually. There's a tremendous amount of investment that's going on right now in the world on self-driving cars. And that's proceeding at very rapid pace. And it's one of these inevitabilities. It's just a matter of how long. And my guess is that it'll take decades. It won't happen overnight. It won't happen over a couple of years. It'll be gradual.
You know, I have this very interesting point. You said in your book that in the future, education probably is more family-based rather than school-based. Can you explain that?
Well, you know, the schools that we have were designed for mass education. It was an assembly line, just the way that automobiles were built, right? the class would go from teacher to teacher every year, and the teacher would rivet knowledge into, right? By far the best way for a student to learn something is one-on-one interaction with an adult who understands the subject and understands the child. And that's very expensive. It's very labor intense, and it's not going to happen unless you're very wealthy. But with personal tutors that are coming online, like Alexa, in your home, a family can have the ability, or the advantage of having access to, first of all, you already have access to the world's knowledge through the internet, but also that will be a personal tutor in a sense that the tutor will get to know your child. You'll have to pay for it, of course, but parents are very happy to do that. The idea is, though, it can be done outside the school and greatly accelerate what the child can learn, because this is going to be individual instruction. When there's a homework problem that the parents can't solve, the tutor might be able to help. No, this is, I've already had some experience with this. I was part of a Science of Learning Center that was based at UCSD. And one of the projects we had is called Ruby the Social Robot. So we built a robot. By we, I mean my colleagues in the center, that they put in place in this is a preschool for 18-month-old toddlers. Right? These are little kids who are running around and just learning how to talk. And the question was, how would they interact with the little children? How would the teacher react to having a robot in the classroom? Would the teacher be afraid that this is going to take over their job? Well, we learned an enormous amount. First of all, the children loved Ruby. Why? Well, it's because Ruby interacted with them. At the beginning, the boys went over and they ripped Ruby's arm off, because that's what boys do. And then, so what they did was they did some social engineering. They put a pressure sensor on the arm. And the next time the boys went and tried to yank the arm off, Ruby cried. The boys backed off, and the little girls went and hugged Ruby. And this is, how humans interact with each other. And this is how Ruby became really a member of the classroom, and they used to go in. And the teacher loved Ruby because with all these kids running around, the real problem is control of the class. And now that there was a robot that helped control the class, the teacher meant that they could spend more time with individuals. So this is really where we're headed. I think that it's a win-win situation, not just in the family, but also in school.
Okay, so you also say that in the future, your phone probably can read your emotions. Like if you're unhappy, maybe your phone can, tell you some joke and to make you happier. Does that mean in the future, AI can also has emotions?
That's an interesting question. So if you look at the brain is very complex, built from hundreds of different systems, evolved over hundreds of millions of years. The parts that we've modeled so far with deep learning is the cerebral cortex on top, the ones that you see from the outside, and then the area just under it called the basal ganglia. And this is a part of the brain that we know learns to make a sequence of decisions toward reaching a goal. And these two pieces were what made AlphaGo a world champion in terms of performance. But there are many, many other parts of the brain. And in particular, there are parts of the brain like the amygdala, which is important for emotions. And if we want deep learning to have emotions, we're going to have to include a model of the amygdala in the decision-making process. And by doing that, we will have a system that will be better able to understand our emotions. By the way, it's already, something that's already happened. One of my former colleagues started a company called Emotions, which used deep learning to distinguish 6 different types of facial expressions, ranging from happiness and sadness, surprise, anger, disgust. And this is now, the company was bought by Apple, and now the technology will be in your cell phone very soon. So yes, the answer is that we definitely will be able, if we want, to provide emotions for artificial intelligence. And I think that it's actually a very ancient part of the brain. All animals have emotions, not exactly the same that we have, but you can see their behavior as if they have similar feelings about happiness and sadness and so forth. So it's just a matter of incorporating that into the structure of the architecture of the advanced 2.0 AI.
But what is the difference between AI emotion and human emotion? Is it more preliminary?
Well, it doesn't exist yet, right? Yeah. and the difference is really a matter of what emotions we want to. I already told you that there's facial expressions for 6 different emotions, but there are many others. I mean, there's feelings of love, which are even deeper, spiritual. And which of those should we incorporate? It's our choice. We can put them in, or we don't have to put them in. They can be complete in terms of the full range, or they can be partial. These are choices that we have to make as science progresses and as engineering gets more efficient and more complete.
Right. So I guess data is actually very important for artificial intelligence. A large amount of data can make AI make decisions much quicker and probably more accurate than human being can. And the question is, who should actually have this, decision-making power?
I think that this is a decision, actually, that we have to make. In other words, by giving more and more autonomy to an AI, in a sense, we're abnegating our own responsibility, right? And there must be some limit. We have to decide where that limit is. And that's one of the things that society will only know after they've experienced a little bit of trying out different amounts of autonomy. And it may vary with the problem. Maybe in medicine it'll be more, and maybe in some areas that are dependent on morals, like law, maybe it'll be less. But that's something that has to evolve. It's something that you can't predict ahead of time where to set the limits. But my feeling is that the place where it's really going to be essential to set the limit is in the military applications. Because there, if you have an AI that's capable of killing people, the last thing you want is for that decision to be made by an AI.
Yeah, it's no secret that AI can be very, very powerful. So, Professor, are you worried maybe one day human beings can be controlled by AI?
Not if we don't let them. It's our decision. We're in charge here. Come on. This is science fiction, right? We see science fiction movies where this happens all the time. But that's I would say if that happened, it would be our fault. That would be stupid of us to let that happen. But we're the ones who are creating it. We can make the decision what we want to put in, what we don't want to put in. And it's really this process of regulation that is, as you become more mature as a technology, you'll understand more about what the dangers are and what needs to be done in order to prevent any serious breach in either personal safety or world safety.
So clear regulation is actually very necessary.
Absolutely necessary. And right now it's kind of Wild West because there aren't any regulations because it's so new. But we'll as we get more experience, we'll see how that plays out.
Great. Thank you so much, Professor, for...
You're very welcome.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. It's great to have you. I learned
Terrific.
a lot from you.
Terrific. Okay, well, it's great to be here and finding out what everybody's thinking.